G'day folks and welcome back to Cheap Barbecue Reviews. I am John and I'm joined by
Jeff.
And Jeff, what are we doing today?
Today we've got the BQ230 13-inch simple charcoal grill, a Hacienda brand. Looks very much like a costume.
It's got a Hacienda sticker on it, and it's also got some mob called lennox.com.au on the side.
It's an Australian import.
Maybe. Now, Hacienda did do the drum barbecue that was one of the best all-round barbecues we've reviewed so far, so I'm interested, but
It's gone.
we talked about this last episode, that the very first barbecue I bought for myself when I lived in London was basically this. It looked absolutely identical. And it was terrible, absolutely appalling. So I don't have a lot of hope for this, but it's fascinating that 30
still make them.
30 years later, the exact same crappy design is still getting stamped out. And
It could actually be winning design.
sold.
This is the purpose of the review.
Look, the reason I bought it then was that there were some positives to the design. It was just poorly executed, and I strongly suspect that's what we're going to deal with here.
Okay.
But shall we do the grand unboxing?
The grand unboxing. There you go.
The big reveal. Now, the tape isn't yellowed, which is often a sign of things have been on the shelves too long, but and the printing isn't faded, so it definitely hasn't been sitting in a box for 30 years.
They could have just shifted to new tape.
Maybe. All right, so look at these incredibly spindly little legs.
I was expecting it to be much taller than this. It's going to be tiny.
Well, the legs did have to fit in the box. Now, just marvel at the incredibly skinny grate there.
Skinny grate. Let me just get some close-up action here.
We've got a weird little triangle to hold the legs together. For some reason, the windshield, I guess to fit in the box, had to come in two parts.
Yep.
So that's going to involve us bolting it together.
It's looking like cheap Vespa fairing.
Yep, okay. Oh, look at this, Jeff. We have documentation.
Oh, no way. It's in English too.
In English. My.
Look at that.
I'll get you to start.
One's a warning.
Start looking at it.
There we go.
So,
look at that.
this is the charcoal pan.
An exploded diagram.
They're always exploded diagrams. They just don't often resemble anything real. And there's nowhere for the coals to sit. They just sit bang in the pan, which is exactly what I had in my long ago London barbecue in my weird little, at a courtyard in a basement apartment.
Okay.
We had an IRA bomb maker who used to throw his garbage from upstairs down into our courtyard so he didn't have to go out. And I knew he was an IRA bomb maker because they arrested him in a very exciting operation.
It's the Semtex wrappers mixed up with the autumn leaves, you know?
Yeah.
You could use this for gold panning. I mean, if you cut the holes. Cut the holes up.
I'm going to be interested to see what the sticker does.
It's going to burn, baby, burn.
We've got some exciting warning messages there. So
I love warning iconography.
Don't use it in a van. Don't use it in a tent.
Is there a boat? Don't use it on a boat?
Don't use it in a house. Don't use it in a teepee. But do use it in the outdoors surrounded by trees.
Particularly pines.
And do read the instructions is my take on that. Okay, so we're going to go to the construction time lapse now, and we'll come back when we're lighting the thing up. So Jeff, what are your thoughts on the assembly of this monstrosity?
It's pretty flimsy. I probably wouldn't send it to Mars.
Yep, fair enough.
Unlike I'd send other people to Mars.
You see where a knife went?
Yes.
Ah, there it is. Turned out I didn't need it. Okay.
Great.
So,
So glad I expended energy looking for that thing.
once again, 3 firelighters.
3 firelighters.
Let's turn it around this way for this bit. And
You can't see it on the
turn
camera
it around
anyway,
later.
so that's okay.
So we weren't able to get the bottom 3 screws in, so we're hoping just the top ring of screws is going to provide, along with the bottom triangle of the strength there.
I think it needs a close up here.
to sort us out. So we've got our 3 firelighters, and it's funny, I've always just assumed 3 firelighters was the right number, but I read the instructions on the heat beads.
It does say 3
It always
firelighters.
says 3 firelighters. So
I saw it on a YouTube short that 3 was the way to go. Man.
that wisdom has come down to me through the generations.
Not only come down to you, but has been
So we're going to go for just enough to cover the bottom of this thing.
shallow.
Yes, which as I lamented 30 years ago in London, where's the charcoal grate, and I lament once again today. So, and now, Jeff, how do we build the pyramid?
Bit by bit, and on one side of the barbecue.
Yeah, it probably would have been easy to do one side of the barbecue, wouldn't it?
Isn't that the way to go? That's what I saw on that YouTube short that was talking about barbecues and optimal fire lighting.
Yeah, one side of the barbecue if you're doing 2-zone cooking, which we're not though. So
No 2-zone.
yeah. That's a bit like the the famous story about the mum who's taught her daughter how to cook a roast, and
You always cut the bit off the end.
always cut the bit off the end. And years later, the mum comes over and the daughter cuts the bit off the end, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And the daughter's like, "Well, that's how he always showed me how to do it." And the mum was like, "That's because my pan was really small."
Yeah, I love that story. I really love that story.
So everything's sliding around because there's no grate. So we're gonna.
John's thinking of starting a new career as Sisyphus.
We are going to follow your advice and set it up on one side.
Oh, I thought it was a quiz, man. I thought it was like, have you been listening all these other weeks, Jeff?
Well,
I thought,
it was the general point that you just keep piling them on top of each other until you achieve success. But they all just slide around under the.
do you have to build those cans in Valhalla?
This is like building a pyramid on ice.
Who's to say it didn't happen?
Well,
They're just not there now.
I'm sure it happened, but they're not there. I hate this so much.
That's so slippery.
I don't know. Why is it so bad? This is the worst pyramid ever.
This is when we have a 5.5 out of gunning. And look at that. That just goes.
And now we'll try and poke the coals roughly together. I think that's as good as it's going to get.
It'll catch the other one.
Yeah, the other one's a bit.
It's a bit buried. I can see it just through there, but I don't know if I'll get it.
It'll catch eventually.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then it'll add some vim and vigor to the process as we go.
So today we're trialing a new staged lighting technique.
We're not deliberately trialing it.
Turns out that's the way it is.
The point that we can make, though, is that the reason you use 3 firelighters is so that you can always make sure at least one of them's alight. Particularly with a barbecue as appallingly bad as this one.
It is tiny, isn't it?
So I bought this thing in London because I was having a party and I thought, I'll really impress my friends if we can have a barbecue at this party, because obviously barbecues in London are few and far between. And, it was back in the days when you could feel very lonely all the time, but you could always get 30 people around to your house to have sex in your housemates' beds. Not necessarily with you, but that's what they'd get up to.
That's where I thought the story was going.
Steal your housemates' belongings.
It's all just part of the barter system.
Yeah, my housemates weren't very happy about this party, and I was not very happy about how long it took me to barbecue. I think I was trying to do hamburgers on this tiny.
You're doing hamburgers on this?
Yeah. It I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't my best moment.
I
So
hope the patties had decent grip, otherwise they'd just fall through.
I think they were mostly made out of soy because it's not like you can afford to eat recognisable chunks of meat in London.
Well,
but,
no, not with BCE anyway. I wouldn't.
There was a kebab shop in Queen's Park that put a whole lamb chop into a kebab, though. That was worth the pilgrimage. I don't know how they afforded it or where they were finding those sheep.
It's probably best not to know. Best not to know.
So, look, we're
I
going
think we've got the
to.
number 2.
we're gonna
Number 3
leave-
is not lit up yet, so it'll get there.
I have
after a
faith. I'm not willing to deconstruct this pyramid to get to that missing one.
while.
So.
Come on, man, where's your drive?
This isn't coming back. This is a minor miracle because there's no grate for the coals to rest on. They just slide everywhere. Now, in London, you couldn't get charcoal briquettes. You had to use lump charcoal, which all the barbecue snobs went, well, lump charcoal's superior anyway.
Is it?
Uh,
It has a bit of column A, bit of column B.
Particularly the lump that this hardware store that sold me this terrible barbecue also sold me this lump charcoal, and it was terrible, low quality, mostly broken up, little tiny micro fragments, very hard to light, not much heat. Good quality lump charcoal will generally give you a higher heat than briquettes, but it will burn through faster.
We got him.
Anyway,
Now. There we go.
there we go. That third one's
Your faith has been.
been rewarded. Okay, so we're going to come back when we're getting ready to put food on, and we'll let you know if we've actually managed to ash over the coals. All right.
No, see you soon.
All right. Well, Jeff, the coals have just about ashed over,
Looking very nice and white.
and the stickers on the outside have started charring off in an alarming way, and they're generating quite a lot of not that particularly pleasant odour.
It's one way of removing stickers, though.
There was no other way. They weren't coming off. They weren't easy removes. I just want to talk briefly about the grate, or the grill, sorry. It is chrome plated, but they seem to have done a good job. It's not flaking off, obviously, in problematic ways. And the spacing in the grill is adequate. It's okay. So we've seen worse.
We've seen worse.
So there's lots of things we already hate about this, but the grill's okay. We'll see how it all fits together. And of course, this does have adjustable height, which is going to be good because we'll get the steak on the lowest setting, and then we'll be able to put it up higher for the kebabs and the sausages. So we're getting close to the thing everyone tunes in for, Jeff.
Ah, yes. Oh,
It's going to be flame time.
flame time.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Fireballs.
All right,
That's what we're after.
this is throwing some heat. Youch. Okay, so we're going for the lowest setting. Ooh, Okay, you need to use tongs for this.
Ah, it's a bit hot in there, is it?
Now, the version of this I had in the 90s, and I swear the version I saw actually had a little handle sticking out, but
That would be clever.
that seems to have been done away with, and tongs worked there. So,
This part here looks like it.
I don't know why that little crossbar's there, but
Maybe for,
someone
for
felt
a
it.
handle, perhaps.
Someone felt it mattered at some point. Now, are you taking the photo of the fireball? You ready?
Hang on.
All good?
We're recording.
Okay. Right. Well, as fireballs go, that was disappointing.
Right.
And what I think we're seeing here is the lack of airflow around the coals.
I see. I see.
No fireballs. Okay,
Sorry about that.
already a problem. Okay, so
Definitely deduct points for that, though.
we have an enormous rump steak, which is what Woolies was selling this week. Whoa.
Oh, shit.
You got the tongs? Okay, so once you've put the oil on it, things can slide around. I've never ever seen a steak threaten to slide off the hot plate.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here, said the rump. We're gone. We're gone.
We deserve better. I don't know.
It's not a great deal
we
of
put the
sizzle
fire out?
happening there, man.
I mean, it's still hot.
Yeah, the air's shimmering.
Yeah.
There's a very faint simmer. Sizzle. There we go.
It's starting to happen, but
No meat thermometer this week?
no, we're not attempting to reverse sear. So
Okay. There we go. It's making noise now.
yeah, we're going to go with the tried and tested method of chuck it on the heat, as much heat as you can do. Wait until you start to see juices rising through it. Flip it over. Wait until the juices rise again, and call it done. And while this is a reasonably thick piece of meat, it's not so thick that because the problem with that technique is if you've got too much heat and too thick a piece of meat, you can end up with blue steak in the middle. I don't think that's going to be a risk here. But for whatever reason, it was not possible to buy a small piece of rump at Woolworths today. But this was it's like $13 for a very large piece. So
There we go.
and
Oh, that's coming along. You can hear that now.
what is the tastiest bit about a cow? It's the fat. No one ever says, "Oh, that Wagyu was so amazing. It was so lean." They're like, "Oh, it was so marbled."
It's so marbled. The marble. It's very coarse marbling going on in this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that coarse marbling. I'll just connective tissue. There's a lot of. This is a cheap barbecue review. This is a cheap cut of meat. Could have got a T-bone for about the same price as well.
It's a bit hard to divvy it up though.
T-bones are not built for sharing.
No.
Unless you get the really big ones, and then you dress it for service.
What are they called? Like
and,
the hatchet or the tomahawk?
Well,
Like
tomahawk's a different beast again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, if the $20,000 Asada grill at the Inn restaurant up the road from here will do an amazing T-bone, but that's it's not within the scope of a cheap barbecue review show. I guarantee you the steak doesn't threaten to slide off.
It was well rescued. It was on a mission.
Yeah.
It was definitely on a mission.
This smoke is something else
Yeah,
as
I
well.
know. You're in the prime seat for that, man. You got the.
We're just going to leave the camera rolling as a slow cooking video. He's hoping it looks pretty impressive on the monitor there.
It's pretty impressive real life too.
We're not seeing the juices coming through, but we are
There's a
seeing
little bit of juice coming through over here.
we're seeing a lot of signs of heating.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing's buckling like crazy. I think. Let's take a peek.
Let's have a look underneath.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Well, that looks.
I hate that.
yeah, man.
So for those watching,
Well, it is well lubricated now.
yeah, it is, but that inch of lateral slide in the grill is a appalling feeling.
It does have locking on it, so it's not a.
It won't do.
to slide
It won't do
out.
more than the inch, but you.
Yeah, but still, it's disconcerting.
and
It's
also
disconcerting.
the whole thing isn't that stable. So once it starts sliding by half an inch,
Yeah,
you're not sure
yeah.
where it's going to end up.
There's a momentum shift happening.
This is easily the smokiest barbecue.
It really is.
None of
man.
the others
yeah,
did
it really
this.
is. No.
I suspect it's because the olive oil didn't ignite.
No, well, you can still see it on the grill around here.
Yeah, so I think that's what's smoking. Thankfully, the neighbours on one side aren't there at the moment, so we don't have to worry about them. I'll go apologise to the other neighbours later.
So I can see like big clouds of smoke. It must be coming out across the top of the building and then going around the side. Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah.
Where are they coming from?
Yeah, we're stinking up the neighbourhood. It's all right. I say it's all right. We own this place.
Has anyone
so-
complained yet?
When the
that's an answer
when
to
the
that
neighbours
video.
were on the other side, I did once get a question being like, "Are you going to be barbecuing every night?" And I was like, "Oh, probably not more than once a week." And she looked at me and said, "Oh yeah, that's okay."
That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing for continued activity.
I mean, it's one of the classic things. You live in, townhouses with little courtyards. Everyone wants to have a barbecue, but you've got to. I do try and make sure I'm using the lowest smoking heat beads, which I find to be the green bag ones.
These ones?
Those
There you
ones.
go.
I try and use firelighters that make the minimal amount of smoke. Sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes stuff happens, but I do try and reduce my smoke levels. And the funny thing is, when you're actually using a smoker, which by the name you think generates a lot of smoke,
but it contains the smoke.
It contains the smoke, and when they're running well and they're running efficiently, they don't actually distribute a lot of smoke into the neighbourhood. Whereas a straight up grill with things sizzling away on them, that can generate a lot more smoke than a smoker.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting how much smoke this is producing, because before you put the steak on, the olive oil, there wasn't a great deal of smoke. And this olive oil that's on the other side here is just like,
it's not doing
still
anything.
there. It's not doing anything.
No, it does seem to be what's coming off the steak is generating the. Now, if this is your first time watching Cheap Barbecue Reviews, all we've done to this steak is a application a few hours ago, about 4 hours ago, of salt and pepper. If you've never barbecued before, then you just want to put it on and rub it in with your hand. It's got to be with your hand. There's no other way to do it.
Yep.
It feels disgusting, but you'll get over it. Wash your hand, turn it over, put the salt and pepper on, rub it in, wash your hand again. You will get the best results. And in time, you will come to love the feeling of rubbing the spices into the meat.
How much time?
It takes a while. Maybe after 10, 15 goes, you start to get
I'm
it.
into this now.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Now we're starting to see some liquid pooling on this.
Yep.
Let's see what the flip side looks like. I'm going to give that a bit longer.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's still sliding around like crazy. I loathe this. It makes me so angry.
Disconcertedly angry.
Well, Jeff, all they had to do was crimp off these bits just closer.
Oh yeah.
You want I grant you that it needs a
Need
little
a little bit of give.
needs a little bit of give to get in and out. It doesn't
Yep.
need to be this much give though.
No.
Or even this peg at the back, which is allowing this one here that's allowing all this travel,
just a
doesn't
bit
need
of
to be that
rotate,
wide. And, yeah,
Well, it could be just a very small slot. This bit.
it could.
Yeah. I don't know how much these holes actually contribute.
Now the red paint is also burning off.
No way.
Yeah. But,
Oh shit. Okay. Well, this is downwind of the meat.
yeah.
Upwind of you, but downwind of the meat.
Yeah, well, I've been breathing that in. That's great. So, it was a bad barbecue 30 years ago. Time has not
It
improved.
hasn't been kind to it, really, has it?
There are so many. We've already reviewed better, cheaper barbecues. Admittedly, this cooking diameter is kind of useful.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like large dinner plate size.
yeah, you could probably cook for maybe even 6 people if you planned it out properly.
You probably need more coals than that because you'd be cooking for a while.
Definitely a family of 4.
It's definitely cooking.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about that.
It hasn't
But you've
quite
got-
managed to extinguish the coals. It's almost managed because there's no ventilation coming up from below them.
Yeah,
but-
it's like we've got a bit of cross breeze today, so it's probably helping out.
Right, let's take another look. Well, that looks like it's kind of done in the middle. What do you reckon?
That's pretty edible.
Yeah, I think let's get that off and get the other bits on. Oh, I'll just put it on the plate for now.
Yep. I was just going to let it rest.
Yeah. Now we're going to put it up 2 notches.
Ooh.
If we've got that functionality, why
Two notches,
It's
one
one notch. There we go. Okay.
It does seem a long way from the heat.
Would you like me to put it down a notch, Jeff?
You're the master, man. You're the master. I'm just.
I'm thinking this is where we want it, and if I'm wrong, we can always go back down.
We'll deal with that. But it happens.
These are adjustable. We still need to, eat our steak. So
That's true. How about I cut that up?
So, and look, in theory, it has got a windshield, which can be quite important. In practice, I just don't feel like that's making up for the other issues. Now, we have a soft spot in this show for the Woolworths mini sweet chili and lime kebabs. And we're going to put one. See, they still feel like they're about to slide off. And two. Right.
Right. I don't think we're going to win any prizes for that.
That's all right. And then you want your plate or my plate. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, it's still got some pink in the middle.
Medium rare.
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, I think we might be pushing that description, but I'm glad we took it off when we did.
Not too bad.
I mean, I think we're enjoying the power of salt and pepper on beef.
I think so too. Yeah, it's done a lot of the heavy lifting.
I actually feel like it would have been better off if we'd have been able to get it lower onto the heat. Basically, those coals are not throwing out a lot of heat because there's no airflow. And this reminds me of my complaints about this barbecue from 30 years ago where I was surprised that I wasn't getting the heat I thought I would get.
Like, I'm not hearing much action from this at the moment.
I think once we finish the steaks, we'll
Maybe lower.
drop them a lot closer.
2 slots closer, I reckon.
I'm actually thinking all the way back down.
Yeah.
At which point it's like, what is the point of the being able to adjust the height if you could never throw out enough heat to need it?
I think if you had a double layer of coals on there, then this height would be okay because it would be producing effectively like double the heat.
That's a lot of coals down there, though. To not be that hot because there's no airflow into them. Not that warm?
Well, it's warm, but
Got to say, the steak does taste amazingly.
no, it does good. Yeah.
And this is a very cheap cut of steak, too.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't taste like an expensive cut. And I think the salt and pepper seasoning is doing, as I said, a lot of the heavy lifting.
So seriously, if you can, just open that packet up,
Season it makes all the difference.
salt and pepper before. There's the whole idea of, we'll season the food at the point of service, but in terms of absorption into the meat, the salt and pepper needs to be in there a few hours before.
I agree. It's a reasonable caramelization on the
On the side that we left down, yeah.
on the side of the left down.
If the barbecue could throw more heat, if it had some ventilation, if it just had another cheap little grate that the coals could sit on, so the air
Yeah.
could get under it,
Yeah,
it'd actually be good.
it would actually be more furnace-like.
Okay. So let's take
Do you
our
want to
lives.
transfer those?
Sorry?
Or do you want to transfer them?
No, I'm going to try and move it with them on.
Okay. Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's not that hard.
Genius.
So with a decent pair of tongs, there's no problem. Look, there was some cooking going on at that higher level, but
I'm looking forward to a bit more cooking.
I'm looking forward to a lot more cooking. Yeah. I mean, the sausages browned up a bit.
You get the same effect if you just left it on the bench for a day.
For a day. Under a heat lamp, yeah. I don't know about your bit of steak, but the fatty bits on mine were actually
Yeah, I had a couple of fatty bits.
really good.
Yeah, pretty tasty. Yeah, pretty tasty.
And look, beef fat is not that good for you, but, when you get to our age, you're taking meds for that stuff anyway, so
Apparently.
it's all going to work out.
Maybe after this year, after a year of barbecues. Maybe then.
Yeah. That'll get you needing the statins. All right, this is going to take a minute, so we might come back when
Might
something's
shut down.
happening.
Yeah.
So, the steak was okay, but we ended up overcooking it because it wasn't getting enough heat, so we had to cook it for longer. Sausages came out pretty well for an open grill.
Not too bad.
Fine.
Not too bad.
The kebabs lacked caramelization because they just weren't getting the intensity of heat they needed.
Which is surprising given the amount of fuel that's in there.
Yeah, but it really just comes down to there's a lack of ventilation,
It's not very hot.
a miserable lack of ventilation because there's no grate holding the coals up to get air underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no ventilation underneath. I guess it will warm things for a very long time because the coals aren't burning away because they're not getting hot. It's badly built. It's not the worst built one we've seen, but it's not good. It's rinky and small, and
The label's burning off. The paint's
paint's
discoloring
burning
on
off.
this side.
Yeah.
It's peeling and blistering.
Fundamentally, it's a would not recommend, and also for us with the idea that we want to try and sell these things after we review them. I do not feel I can ask someone to pay me money for this.
Maybe you just have to give it away.
Throw it in the bin's what we normally do at this point. But
In the recycling. Is it even steel? Who knows?
yeah, it's look. I knew its caliber before, but it was really good with the experience of all the years that have gone by and cooking on so many other much better barbecues in the interim. We have reviewed little barbecues on this show that are good for what they are.
Yeah.
This is not one of those.
It's not one of those, no.
I knew it was bad. I honestly had wondered if it was the horrible lump charcoal I was using 30 years ago or some failure of technique on my part 30 years ago, but no, it's a lack of ventilation.
That is a long time to carry a fear of a lack of technique.
Yeah, well, I can now just look back and say, no, it doesn't have enough ventilation out of the coals.
No, it turns out it was shit.
Yeah. Was then, is now. But sadly, we're not going to have any crazy parties here tonight. But, you know, maybe that's a good thing. Anyway, folks, hope you've enjoyed another cheap barbecue review. This one, I would steer clear of.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of a thumbs down from me. Flimsy, looks particularly dinky, and just an inefficient use of the fuel that you put in it. Not what you're after. There you go.
Bad then, bad now. It still staggers me that they are still making it.
Yeah, there it is, man. There it is. There it is. After 30 years,
They could be
It's still
making
there.
a better one.
they could be making a better one. They could be making a better one.
But losers like me keep buying them.
I was going to say, apparently people keep buying them, so there's obviously a market for them.
They look a lot better online than they do in person, that's for sure. To be honest, the one I bought in London, they had one assembled in the store. And I looked at it, and I still bought it.
Still
And,
bought it. Yeah, still bought it. Yeah, even with your nascent knowledge of barbecue.
And that was a 25-pound barbecue then, and it's 25 pounds then was a lot more than now. So at least it's depreciated.
Has it though?
Yeah.
£25, what, $50 now? This is like 40.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah,
much.
but 25 pounds then is worth like $100
Oh
now.
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. We would have expected more with the passage of time, and this just hasn't delivered.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll be
No worries.
back
See
in
you
a few
next
weeks.
time. Bye.